The sun was only just rising over Naval Training Base Coronado, casting thin streaks of gold across the courtyard where a fresh batch of recruits shuffled nervously. For most of them, this day was the biggest moment of their lives. First day of Navy training. First day toward becoming warriors. First day wearing the uniform they'd dreamed about since childhood. But like all large groups of young, ambitious people, not everyone had the humility to match the uniform. Among them stood a handful of loud-mouthed recruits, boys who believed they were born to lead before ever earning the right to do so. They were the type who judged others before knowing anything about them. The type who spoke loudly because silence made them insecure. And today, they would make the biggest mistake of their training careers. Among the recruits, walking quietly, head low, was a woman, small in size, simple in appearance, and wearing a uniform that, at first glance, looked just slightly different. Not wrong, but customized, adjusted, modified. And for the recruits who had convinced themselves they were born warriors, this simple difference was enough reason to mock her. Her name was Lieutenant Commander Sarah Hale, but no one there knew that yet. She walked with a calmness that felt almost out of place on a base buzzing with nerves and excitement. She wasn't tall, she wasn't bulky, she didn't look like the Hollywood idea of a warrior. She had a soft face, small frame, and a silent presence that most people would overlook in a crowd. And that was exactly what the recruits did. Point one of the loudest recruits, a tall guy named Jackson, nudged his friend as she passed. "Bro, check out Grandma here." "Wrong base, sweetheart. This ain't yoga class." Another recruit laughed. "Maybe she thinks this is army training. Look at that uniform. Who tailored that thing?" "Her mom." A few others joined in, trying to score points with the louder boys. "Hey, sweetheart, you lost? Go home before you break a nail. Someone tell her this is Navy SEALs training, not a cooking show." Sarah didn't react. She didn't even glance at them. Her expression remained calm. Eyes forward, steps steady, breathing controlled. Only one thing gave her away: her hands. They were not the hands of a soft person. The small scars, the subtle strength, the veins, the calluses, those were the hands of someone who had lived through something these recruits couldn't imagine. Still, the mocking continued. "Look how small she is. I bet she can't even lift a backpack. I don't know who let her on this base, but she must be some officer's niece. Go home, sweetheart. Seriously, you don't belong here." But Sarah just walked, ignoring them all, moving toward the formation line where everyone was supposed to gather. The sergeant instructor hadn't arrived yet, and without authority present, the recruits felt free to unleash every insult they could think of. Point one of them actually stepped in front of her, blocking her path. "You deaf? The line is for actual trainees, not tourists. The bus stop is outside." Others laughed. One even pretended to offer her a child's backpack, joking, "Here, sweetheart, try lifting this first." What they didn't realize is that the woman they were mocking wasn't a trainee. She wasn't even a regular officer. She was a decorated Navy SEAL officer, one of the most elite in U.S. military history. A woman who had completed missions most people would never even hear about. A woman who had been awarded honors classified enough that even these loud-mouthed recruits couldn't access the files. She wasn't there to train. She was there to evaluate, and their evaluation was already failing. The mocking continued. One recruit who had been silent the whole time finally spoke up. His name was Aaron, a quiet, respectful young man who had grown up the hard way and didn't find joy in humiliating others. He stepped forward, voice low but steady. "Hey, leave her alone. You don't know who she is." Jackson scoffed. "Oh, look, Grandma has a knight." "Man, what's wrong with you?" Aaron said. "She just got here. You've got no reason to talk to her like that." "Aaron, relax," another recruit said. "We're just having fun. She's clearly lost." "She's not lost," Aaron said firmly. "And even if she was, you don't treat people like this." But Jackson smirked and walked closer to Sarah again. "You want to act tough, sweetheart? Say something. Or run home to mommy." Sarah slowly lifted her eyes. Just one look. Point one quiet, focused, deadly calm look, and something in Jackson's chest tightened. He didn't understand it. He didn't know why his instincts suddenly screamed at him. But his mouth kept moving because ego is louder than instinct. "Cat got your tongue?" Sarah spoke softly, so softly that everyone leaned in just to hear her. "No," she said. "I'm just choosing not to waste breath." Laughter exploded from the recruits, but not for long, because at that exact moment, the Master Chief in charge of the entire training program stepped onto the courtyard. The recruits quickly straightened, standing at attention. Master Chief Donovan was a legend. Tough, intimidating, respected, and feared by every trainee. When he walked, even the wind seemed to move out of his way as he eyed the recruits. Then his gaze fell on Sarah. The courtyard went silent. He gave her a nod, sharp, respectful, containing messages only experienced warriors understand. Then he turned to the recruits. "Recruits," he barked, "before we begin training today, let me introduce someone." Jackson smirked and whispered, "Finally, they're escorting her out. Oh man, this is going to be fun." But their smirks died instantly when Master Chief Donovan continued. "This is Lieutenant Commander Sarah Hale. Highly decorated, multiple classified missions. Former team leader of SEAL Team 9. She is here today to evaluate your discipline, your respect, your readiness, and your character." Mouths dropped open, he continued. "And everything you have said in the last 10 minutes has been recorded on courtyard surveillance." Some recruits turned pale. Some swallowed hard. Some glanced around, as if hoping the ground would swallow them. But Master Chief Donovan wasn't done. "Lieutenant Commander Hale is one of the most accomplished officers in our entire naval special warfare community. While you're calling her sweetheart, she was busy saving lives overseas in missions you will never know about." He looked directly at Jackson. "While you were mocking her uniform, she was wearing a uniform covered in medals she earned with blood, sweat, and sacrifice." Then he looked at all of them. "While you stood here bragging about your potential, she has already achieved more than any of you could dream of achieving in a lifetime." The recruits stood frozen, silent, humiliated, ashamed. Master Chief Donovan stepped back respectfully. "Lieutenant Commander Hale, they're yours." Sarah stepped forward. The recruits held their breath. She scanned their faces, one by one, without anger, without arrogance, without pride, just truth. "You all want to become Navy SEALs," she began. "You want the title. You want the glory. You want the trident." Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried more power than any shout. "You think strength is about muscles, about height, about who looks the most intimidating. But strength, real strength, has nothing to do with size." She took a step closer. "Strength is discipline. Strength is humility. Strength is honor. Strength is knowing when to speak and knowing when to shut up." Jackson looked down, unable to meet her eyes. "You mocked me because you don't know anything about me," Sarah said. "You mock my uniform even though you haven't earned yours. You mock my size because you think being loud makes you dangerous." She paused. "You have no idea what real danger looks like." The courtyard was so silent you could hear the waves from the beach hitting the sand. Then she said something no one expected. "Before you even think about becoming SEALs, you need to learn how to be men. Not boys. Not bullies. Men." She walked past Jackson and whispered just loud enough for him to hear. "And if you ever talk to another woman in uniform the way you talk to me, you'll be off this base before sunrise." Jackson nodded quickly, sweat forming on his forehead. Then Sarah addressed the entire group again. "We're going to train today. Hard. Harder than you've ever trained. And every mistake you make, every weakness you show, every disrespectful thought you have, I will see it. And I will correct it." She pointed to the track. "Move. Now." The recruits sprinted, fear driving their legs faster than adrenaline ever could. But something interesting happened as training began. Sarah didn't humiliate them. She didn't punish them unfairly. She didn't scream for revenge. Instead, she taught them. She corrected their stances. She fixed their teamwork. She drilled discipline into them. Her commands were sharp, clear, effective. No wasted energy. No wasted breath. Aaron, the recruit who defended her, earned a nod of respect from her during the exercises. It was small, but meaningful, and he would remember it for the rest of his life. By the end of the day, every trainee on that courtyard had learned something they would never forget. Respect is earned through action, not appearance. The recruits lined up again. Exhausted but transformed, Sarah stood before them one final time. "You were given a lesson today," she said. "Not in combat, not in discipline, in humility." She looked at each of them, firm but not cruel. "You think you're ready to be SEALs, but the truth is you're not." A few recruits lowered their heads. "But you can be," she added, "if you start respecting every single person who wears this uniform, regardless of rank, regardless of gender, regardless of size." She gave a final nod. Training dismissed. The recruits began walking back toward the barracks, quieter, wiser, changed. Point one of them, Jackson, walked toward her slowly. He looked nervous, embarrassed, but sincere. "Ma'am, I am sorry. I was completely out of line." Sarah nodded. "I know you are," she said. "Just remember, your behavior today could have ended your career before it began. Don't let it happen again." "Yes, ma'am. Never again." He saluted, this time with respect. As Sarah walked across the courtyard toward the officers' building, Master Chief Donovan joined her. "They'll never forget this day," he said. "No," she replied quietly. "And that's why I had to be here." She gave one final look at the recruits, tired, sweaty, humbled. "Grow for justice," she whispered to herself, as if the phrase meant something deeper to her. It's exactly what today was about. And as she walked away, the recruits watched in awe. She had come silently. She had been mocked, underestimated, disrespected, and she had walked away as what she truly was, a warrior, a leader, a legend, a decorated SEAL officer, and the strongest person on that base. If you enjoyed this story and want more powerful, justice-filled moments like this, make sure to subscribe to Grow for Justice. And tell me where you're watching from in the comments.